slasher spree, where mysteries and terror be and darkness comes for you and me. Join us on a slasher spree. There's no place to hide, and soon you'll see siblings on a slasher spree.
Hello again from the shadows.
Ooh. First of all, I think we have to acknowledge that we've taken like 18 weeks off.
Yeah.
And I think we should tell the people why.
Sure. Go for it.
Love is blind. That is why we have been doing nothing but binging all of the seasons of Love is Blind.
Yeah, and honestly, this is your fault.
I know.
You and my
Well,
best
it's sort
friend
of
Maria.
me and Maria. Yeah.
You guys were like doing nothing but talking about season 6 while we were at local drag brunch.
Yep.
And I had no idea what you were talking about. And I typically steer away from reality television, with the exception of Jersey Shore, because I was obsessed with that when it came out, but I lost it. I'm not even caught up.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're just raving about Love is Blind. I did put on the first episode. I got like 10 minutes in and then was like, y'all, I can't. I don't think I can. I don't think I can do this. Fast forward like 6 hours and I'm like, oh my God, that bitch. So
I know.
now we're into, what are we watching now? Season 4?
I think season 4. Yeah.
We're on season 4. Okay. Anyway, yes. So let's all
Sorry.
blame Love is Blind. It has captivated our attentiones, but we are back with a cool topic, I think, this week.
Yeah. And today we will be exploring the history of grave robbing.
Ooh. Hey, Kristen.
What?
Why did the grave robber bring a shovel to the comedy club?
Oh boy. Why?
Because he heard the audience was dying for some fresh material. Whoa, ba-dum-ching. Hello? Okay, apologies. There are not many jokes on grave robbing out there. If you thought that was bad, you should have heard some of the ones that I did not use.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's move on. And
yeah, should we just dig in then?
Oh boy. Okay.
Okay, fine. I'm closing the casket on these jokes.
Ooh, you suck.
So the practice of grave robbing, particularly for the purpose of medical research, casts a shadow over the history of medicine and its uneasy relationship with ethics and legalities.
Yes, this dark chapter is most vividly illustrated by the activities of the so-called resurrection men in the 18th and 19th centuries. These grave robbers unearthed corpses to supply anatomy schools and researchers with cadavers, driven by the burgeoning demand for medical knowledge and the scarcity of legally obtained bodies.
Legally obtained bodies.
Yes, those are the ones you want. Okay.
The intersection of medical advancement, legal frameworks, and public perception during this period offers a fascinating glimpse into a time when the pursuit of scientific knowledge wrestled with moral and ethical boundaries.
In the 18th and 19th centuries, the study of anatomy became a cornerstone of medical education. Understanding human anatomy was critical for surgical procedures and for comprehending the underpinnings of human physiology and disease.
However, the supply of, again, these legally obtained bodies for dissection was grossly insufficient, primarily limited to the bodies of executed criminals. The scarcity led to the emergence of the resurrection men, grave robbers who supplied medical schools and researchers with freshly buried, or I guess unburied, corpses.
Mm-hmm. Well, because you wanted them fresh, right? Because then they're the
So freshly
to...
buried, pre-digging them up.
Yes. So like the people had just died. They've been now
Right.
freshly buried, but those are like cream of the crop.
Yes.
Grave robbing was a clandestine...
I want to sing that song. Cream of the crop, but it didn't move. Does it jump around?
Is
Jump
it?
around.
Jump.
Yeah. There's a
Oh,
cream in the crop and the crop in the tutu. Shit. Okay.
yeah.
Don't
I'll
worry about
take
it.
your word for it. Yeah.
Okay. It's a lyric in I think Jump Around. So
Oh, okay. Love that for us.
soundbite here.
I'm the cream of the crop. I rise to the top. I never eat a pig because a pig is a cop. Or better yet, a Terminator. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Uh, grave robbing was a clandestine and highly illegal activity. Resurrection men employed various techniques to exhume bodies with minimal detection after working under the cover of night.
They had to be careful not to steal any personal effects from the grave, as this could lead to charges of theft, which was punished more severely than the violation of a grave itself. Which the bodies were then sold to anatomists and medical schools, often with no questions asked about their origin. Sort of like back in the day marketplace, you know?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, you find like a iMac that is just really cheap, and you're like, you know what? Sounds good. Meet me in this parking lot.
Yeah. And I think it's funny too because this speaks really to the changing of times and how our laws really need to adapt to the social landscape, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
at the time, why would you be stealing bodies? Like there was no law
Yeah.
against stealing the bodies. Yes, if you took the ring off the body's finger, you
Yeah.
go into jail. And yes, you
Yeah.
probably had a bit of a smaller charge for like desecrating the grave itself.
Sure.
But just taking the body, no laws are broken, right? So like again, let's just take this
Yeah.
and run with it, especially in our current, you know,
Mm,
yeah, let's know
mm,
and appreciate that laws need to change with
the times.
society and
Yeah.
not let them just be there for all time.
Yep.
Yeah, and how can we possibly speak to the vocation of the resurrection men without telling you about the most famous of them all? The tale of Burke and Hare is one of the most infamous stories of murder and grave robbing in the annals of criminal history, taking place in Edinburgh, Scotland in the early 19th century.
William Burke was born in Ulster, Ireland, around 1792. Little is known about his early life before he arrived in Scotland. William Hare was born in Ireland as well, around 1792, though his exact birthplace and early life are also obscure. He later migrated to Scotland.
Yes, so Burke and Hare met in Edinburgh, likely around 1827, and became lodging housekeepers in the Westport area of the city. Facing financial difficulties, Burke and Hare resorted to murder as a means of obtaining bodies to sell to the anatomy lecturer Dr. Robert Knox, who required cadavers for dissection at his anatomy lectures. I can I can totally see this like being a me thing back then where I was like, okay, I don't want to get dirty. Like I don't want to actually have to dig the graves up. Like there's got to be a more efficient
Go
way
like
to
right to
do
the
this.
source.
Yeah, and someone would have been like, "Well, why don't you just start murdering them and then giving them the bodies?" Oh.
Yeah, but I can only assume that like murder is not clean.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't like the dirty factor. It was maybe more so
Like,
just the convenience. You know, it's like you'll spend an extra dollar at the convenience store close by your house on a like
oh,
loaf
well,
of
yeah.
bread than if
Yes.
you had to actually go to the grocery store. I feel like this is what that is.
Bread versus human life. Yes, that
I made the
is
connection.
exactly what this is.
Well, you know what? And bread is what considered the body of Christ, who
Oof. Ooh. Okay,
so
so
you know,
where did it all
bread,
begin? For, well, I'm just gonna push. I'm not even
just
gonna
push
acknowledge
past
it.
it.
Yeah. Where did it all begin for Burke and Hare? In November 1827, an elderly lodger named Joseph became ill and died owing rent. Burke
Hmm.
and Hare decided to sell Joseph. See, that's not murder. Burke and Hare decided to sell Joseph's body to Dr. Knox instead of burying it. This marked the beginning. Oh, okay. So this was the beginning of their murderous spree. Because I'm like, you know what? That's not so bad. They didn't kill him. He died.
Yeah, but this was also probably like a light bulb moment for them where they were like, "Oh my god."
I'm getting that vibe. Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
also think that they paid like the fresher the body, I think the more money
Oh,
you
got
could
like a
make off the
premium?
sale. Yes, exactly.
Mm, okay. Okay.
So over the course of the next year, Burke and Hare killed at least 16 people, mostly
Ooh,
impoverished lodgers or individuals they lured to their lodging house under false
lured.
lured them they lured them to their lodging house under false pretenses. They typically suffocated their victims by pressing down on their chests until they
Oh.
asphyxiated.
Say what?
Ay, ay, ay. In November of 1828, suspicion arose.
Oh.
Oing, 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 when the lodgers of Burke and Hare's boarding house reported suspicious behavior and the sudden disappearance of several, 16 individuals.
hmm But they were smart, right? But I mean, if they're running this like boarding house, then it's typically,
It would
single
be a high
people.
turnaround. Yeah.
Yeah, that may
Yeah.
not know. Yeah, it was, I mean, it was awful, but kind of smart. Until they got caught, of course. So Burke and Hare were arrested after police found a body hidden under the bed in their lodging house. Hare agreed to turn King's evidence against Burke in exchange for immunity from prosecution. Gasp.
Gasp. In December of 1828, Burke was tried and found guilty of murder. He was sentenced to death by hanging. Burke was hanged? Hung?
hmm
What's the pro? No. Burke was hung?
I
Hanged.
mean, boing, boing,
uh, okay, so
you
Burke
might be
was
right on that.
executed
Yeah, let's go there. Yeah.
on January 28th of 1829 in front of a crowd of thousands in Edinburgh. His
hmm
body was subsequently dissected as a form of post mortem punishment. Oh,
What a
you
full
really
circle
showed
moment.
him.
William Hare was released after providing evidence
What?
against Burke. Yes, he disappeared from the public eye and was rumored to have emigrated, though his exact fate remains unknown.
I mean, he's probably dead by now. So
Yeah.
that fate is clear at this point.
Mm-hmm.
The Burke and Hare murders prompted significant reforms in medical education and anatomy laws in Britain. They also sparked debate about the ethics of body procurement for medical research.
Mm-hmm. The Burke and Hare murders have inspired numerous books, films, and plays, cementing their status as some of the most notorious figures in criminal history. Their story continues to captivate audiences with its blend of horror, greed, and moral ambiguity. My favorite film adaptation is 2010's Burke and Hare, directed by John Landis and starring Simon Pegg as Burke and Andy Serkis as Hare. Only 32% on Rotten Tomatoes, but I enjoyed it.
I don't know if I've seen it.
No?
This feels wrong that I haven't. No, I'm going to look it up.
Hmm.
The practice of body snatching with.
Hey, Kristen.
What?
Why did Burke and Hare open a restaurant?
No.
Come on. Why'd they open a restaurant? I know you want to know.
Why did they open a restaurant, Randy?
Because they heard it was a cutthroat business and they had experience with takeaways.
Where are you finding these? Are you just Googling them or are you,
Okay, so
is this your
no.
brain?
Due to my journalistic integrity, I will not be revealing my sources.
Okay. Well, can I continue?
Please proceed.
Okay. The practice of body snatching understandably fueled public outrage and fear. Stories of grave robbing appeared in newspapers, stoking widespread horror and indignation. Families went to great lengths to protect the graves of their loved ones, employing mort safes, those iron cages around graves, which is actually to keep people out instead of the zombies
Mm-hmm.
coming, or keep people from getting in instead of the
Yes,
zombies coming out.
correct.
I was talking about the I got all excited about zombies.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
so they employed the mort safes.
oh yes,
Uh,
yes, yes. So basically security guards, night watchmen in the graveyard just to make sure those graves weren't getting robbed.
Oh, well, that seems like a vocation I should have explored further.
No, because you'd be like turning a blind eye and
Okay, you can have the body, but I want the bones after. Uh, so the public's revulsion and the increasing audacity of the Resurrection
the
Men,
audacity.
The
the
audacity.
the gall and the gumption. So it eventually led to legal reform, as I just mentioned, is super
Yep.
important. The Anatomy Act of 1832 was passed in the United Kingdom, which allowed for the donation of unclaimed bodies to medical science and expanded the legal supply of cadavers for dissection and study. This act effectively ended the era of the Resurrection Men by diminishing the market for illicitly obtained corpses.
The era of grave robbing for medical research had a lasting impact on both the field of medicine and its public perception. On one hand, the dissections and studies performed on these ill gotten bodies contributed significantly to the understanding of human anatomy and medical science.
And then on the other hand, the association of medical research with grave robbing and body snatching tarnished the public image of the medical profession for a time, casting doctors and autonomists in a suspicious, if not macabre, light.
This period also led to a greater awareness and eventual codification of ethical standards in medical research, shaping the modern landscape in which the importance of consent and respect for the deceased are paramount. You know, it's also important
What's that?
consent and respect for people that are currently alive that have
Oh, also,
uteruses.
I would say even more
You know,
important,
you know.
if I do so dare.
Anyways,
Well, that is a great segue to our ethically sourced human remains collection.
aha!
I would say that these make up the rarest part of both of our collections for
Mm,
sure. Not just because they're difficult to come by, but also because they are expensive.
girl, that shit ain't cheap.
Mhm,
But they're worth it. I
mhm.
really love mine. We have a few similar pieces, but my collection is bigger. Hair flip. Oh, that's share, by the way. So I will let you go first.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for reminding me of that
Hmm.
fact.
Hmm.
Not all of us have perfect spouses who buy us human skulls for our birthday. Maybe one day I'll get that lucky. Adam, take notes.
Although, let's just think about Adam trying to find and purchase human remains and how every step of that would be hilarious.
Honestly,
Oh,
he would
so
never.
sweet. No.
He would never.
No.
He would never. Because number one, I don't think he would just flat out buy something. Like he would have to have the birth certificate of the person, know exactly where they grew up,
Yeah.
have
Yeah,
their
yeah, yeah.
entire yeah, all of that.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
and that's, you know what, that's okay because that's him and we love him.
Yeah, that's true.
For
We
the
do.
time being, I'll have to settle for having the perfect sibling because you've got me a couple human remains over
Aw.
the years.
Hmm.
Specifically, that piece of brain tissue and that gorgeous hourglass with cremated remains inside. Um,
Yes.
you have those as well.
I do.
Ugh, so good.
It gets
Um,
expensive because
it-
sometimes I just need to buy 2 of everything
I
because I'm like,
know.
Randy's gonna want this as well.
It is. It's really difficult.
Uh,
But I also really enjoy that if you have, a relative who means something to you or a friend or whoever it
mm,
is,
mhm.
and you decide to, put their cremated remains inside one of these really nice hourglasses, that person can still always be with you during game night because you can use them as a timer.
Yes. Yahtzee just got interesting. I don't even know if you use a timer for Yahtzee. I don't know why that's the
Uh,
first game I thought of, but
I mean, hey, yeah, I'm pretty
Yahtzee!
sure you do. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you do.
Okay.
Okay, what else? I also picked up I have a human femur from
Mhm,
the Cabinet of Curiosities in Hamilton.
mhm,
Shout out to them
mhm.
every chance I get.
So good.
And I am a proud owner of a human skull. Uh, The cranium has been sawed off in the back, but it reattaches with a few metal spikes. So it is fascinating and educational. And yeah, gotta love Facebook Marketplace. I got my first human skull off Facebook Marketplace.
I love that. See, Facebook Marketplace, killing it. Meeting people in parking lots, buying human skulls.
I
What
don't
a
know why does
what
it
a
feel
time to
more
be
safe?
alive.
Why does that feel more safe than Craigslist? That's what I want to know, because every Craigslist adventure was always, you
Uh,
die.
yeah,
But buying skulls off
yeah,
Facebook Marketplace, no problem. Here's my
yeah,
address.
yeah. So my collection.
Mm,
So I do have quite a few items. So I have the piece of the brain,
yep.
and I have the cremated remains that are in the hourglass.
Hmm.
I have two human ribs, which I made like a little display out of.
Oh, and the shadow
Um,
box. Is it just two?
yeah, it's just the two ribs.
Oh, okay. I thought it was more for some reason.
No, no, it's just the two. I also have a foot, um, just the bones, though,
Yeah.
not like the flesh and the tissue. So I have a human foot that I kind of crafted. Actually, one of my good friends, Leslie, helped me. She was not happy. Um, craft the foot and one of my old point shoes. So it's like a little like ballet um, display.
Yeah, it's
That's one of my
beautiful.
favorites. I really, really like that. I have two human skulls.
Ugh.
So I, I have the one that Leo got me for my birthday, which is stunning. Like
Ugh.
it's such a stunning, stunning piece. And then I have a second human skull that I bought with a lobotomy kind of set slash display.
Ooh, yes.
Um, and it appears, it can't be confirmed, but it appears that the skull was, or that the person who owned the skull in their head had been lobotomized. So that's a really really cool piece.
Yeah.
And I think are those. I think that's all I have.
So I guess here's my question
Ooh.
is, do you feel like you would bridge the gap between our human remains and our fascination with wet specimens as well? Since you touched on having to clarify that the foot was
Oh.
in fact skeletonized, would you buy just a human foot in a jar?
Yes. I would.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like I know the answer to this question, but
um, things like that are probably even more, well, not probably, they are even more expensive and ultimately just a lot harder to find,
yeah,
right? Because ultimately you don't have to preserve a skull because it's bone, right? Like once
correct.
it's like it's a skull, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like tissue and skin and that sort of thing actually needs to be preserved and maintained and that kind of thing. So, would I? For sure. Could I afford it? Probably not. What about
Is
you?
there is oh, I would.
Yeah.
No hesitation.
Yeah.
But would you draw the line? Is there a piece of
Mm,
human tissue, wet tissue, that you would not buy because you either thought it was, let's just take money out of it. Like
okay.
if you could straight up buy like a severed head wet specimen, would you do it?
Say what?
I mean, yeah.
I think I would too.
Again, like, I don't know. I think things being ethically sourced are important.
Yes.
I don't know if one could ever ethically source an intact human head.
I
Um,
feel like we could do that for each other, whoever dies first.
That is true. I could be a floating head in your cabinet if that's what you like. See, but okay, so I'm hoping so because this is going to
Hmm.
start a whole fight. Are you an
Uh-oh.
organ donor?
I am.
Okay, good. Yeah, like my wishes when I pass is that either people alive needing things or science takes it all. Like, I don't want any of it. You might, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
Right? Like any organs that can be donated, take them. You want to study something weird, study it.
You better work.
Like I don't want like my body left intact to be buried or cremated. I just want
no, definitely don't want that.
use what you can.
Use what you can. I would definitely agree with that. Use what you can. I don't think anyone would want a lot of my internal organs because of the years of abuse. So in that case, if it was very
I
much
mean,
like
yeah. And who knows? Who knows? Maybe your lungs give out, but you got a good old heart on you.
true,
You know?
that's true.
It's you never know. You never
You
know.
never know. And it
But
is
yeah,
important. Organ donation is important. If you
yes.
would like some more information on that, we could actually probably link to some more information.
Yes.
If you haven't signed yourself up, if you haven't gone through the process, please take some time to do that because
Yep.
it is important and it can help a lot of people.
Oh, it can save so many lives.
Yeah.
And you're
Now
not
I
using
will.
them. You're not
You're
using
not.
them. You
You're
know?
really not. I might go back it because I remember I did do this a long time ago, and I don't know why at the time, but I did say I was good. Like take everything, anything you can,
Mhm.
except my eyes. I don't know why I had a weird thing about my eyes at the time.
Oh.
I don't know if I still feel that way. I'm trying to think why I did in the
Oh.
first place. But it does
I mean,
specifically
they're
say you
good
can.
eyes. They've had laser eye surgery done.
Maybe that's why. Maybe I'm like, this is the only organ I've put money into. You can't have it. But no, maybe I will
Uh,
change that because I don't
yeah.
really. I
You should
can't
look at
remember why.
yeah, it's always on the or it was anyways. It's always on the back of your driver's license.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So yeah. Well, okay. We'll link to that for sure.
there you go. See, we've been educational, we've been funny. We've
This
been
podcast could save lives.
Oh, yeah.
it needs a little jingle there. Okay, so that wraps it up. We're gonna sign off. So this has been Kristen,
And Randy.
slashing our way into your hearts.
And nightmares.
Happy haunting!
Bye, witches!